Hello again. It's a bit lighter this time because the curtains are open and the sun is shining. Well, usually I'm doing it at night time. Yeah. Right. As seems to be normal with this series, because there's lots of information on board and many different meanings for one letter, I tend to forget something and go, oh, and then try and add it on the end. So now I'm adding bits. Okay, for the first thing, like I've said on my dad video, I hope you don't see this as vulgar. I can see why you would. If you're going to have a go at me, please don't. But yeah, the Vav, wow, based on the fact that our Hebrew is also based on function of what the pictures represent and what they do. This, as a connection, a joiner, a picture of a nail in the modern version, yeah, I think can also represent a male member, right, a wanger, right. Again, if you just exaggerate the picture, you kind of get it. Yeah, and then it gets side profile. Again, not trying to be vulgar. I'm just being objective and honest, and this is what I sometimes see. And when you put it in some means, it seems to work. Okay, so I can understand if you're going to now think bad things about me, but I'm just being honest with you. Okay, for the tet, you know, this one, I think it has something to do with food as well. The idea of a full basket in goodness. And I get this from the actual scriptures themselves, which I'll probably put in a different video later on. So on the meanings of that, I'd say food as well, possibly. Somebody mentioned a store. That comes under contain. You use a basket to store stuff, to put stuff in. Same sort of idea. Maybe a womb, that was suggested, possibly. A womb protects you, it surrounds you, etc. And also for yad or yod, you know, this one. Some means I forgot to put on my list, which is silly because I've interpreted it as these things in other videos. It's basically create and form. Yeah, obviously it's for your hand, isn't it? It's doing works of deeds, creation, forming. And as I've said in other videos, I think it could represent possibly a punch or an attack, because it can mean power and strength in some sort of way, because it's a hand, you know. So you could say, you know, something like along the lines of that. Like a punch or power or beating. Again, I get these meanings based on not just research things I read, but also my own letter studies. Okay, moving on then. Kaph. Kaph's a letter that I'm not as sure about as well. It's a bit like some of the previous ones where I'm some more sure of than others. So, excuse me. Original forms then. That or sort of that, maybe with 3 lines. Say it's a palm of the hand. Here you've got the idea of the thumb, the curvy bit there. Okay. Sometimes only have 2 lines. As it's evolved though, it's quite interesting, I think, how it evolved. So in Paleo Hebrew, it looks kind of like this, either like that or like that, or like that, and even sometimes like that. I think basically this, as this evolves, it's like you start to do this business. Yeah, you get the Ardenless thing on the go again. And here, to me, that is the same as this, but without the fingers going off. So you kind of do that, and then you can't bother to do that if you like. It just gets easier. If you practice doing this, as I have as well, you just try and do this a lot quicker. You end up kind of going into this form a little bit. Now the modern version, the small Kaph is this, and then the final one that's on the end of the word, the Sophie, basically here, look, is this. And that one looks very, very similar to one of the Paleo versions, which is kind of the same thing. And that is a bit like this, but without the fingers on. So you still get the same image, kind of, a little bit. Okay. I like this one. Although this seems to be a thumb, on here it looks more like a forearm. You know? Grammatically, it is not number 11, as you might think if you've been following the series. It's 20. Okay. 20. Grammatically, it also has meanings. If you prefix it to words, so you've got word and you put a kaph there, it pretty much means this: as, according, and like. Okay, which makes a lot of sense to me because we do it in our natural mannerisms, what's built into us. We kind of go, yeah, like this, mate. Yeah, like that. We sort of use the hand motion, like what we're talking about, where it looks like this. You got this according like thing on the go. We do it all the time. It's natural to us. But if you put it at the end of a word, put a kaph at the end of a word, it usually means you or your. You know, of you, depending. Same thing. Right, you and your, it's not quite exactly the same meaning, but you and your is very similar, very closely related. And again, it's the same hand motion. Yeah, it's yours, mate. Yeah, it's yours. Yeah, like you got the same bink on the go. Okay. That's like your grammatical meanings. In terms of some of the other meanings, this is where the pictographic I'm less sure on its meanings. I'm relying mostly on things I've read, whether they're true or not. I'm not sure, that's why I say, go and check your own things out. I've only seen some of the meanings in words where I feel most confident, but you get the idea of it being cover again. Many words seem to share certain meanings, but with a different nuance. Like a hand covering over. It means palm, literally. The word kaph itself, actually, when you spell it out, the word kaph means palm. It's obvious that's what it looks like. It's palp. Why did I write that? Because I'm stupid. It means palm, but it also means spoon. If you think about it, a spoon's a bit like a palm. It's just an extension, little palm. It most likely means a paw of an animal. I don't know, but that's the same thing. It's the same concept. Okay. Some sources say it means to receive. And again, that sort of makes sense. Put your hand out. Why? Ah, cheers, mate. Receive. And plus, when you're praying, sometimes you put your hands up, don't you? And we've talked in the scriptures as well. It's the idea of receiving either something from him that you're praying for, or if you're just trying to worship him, you want to receive his ruach or communion, etc. Same thing. You put your arm out. That submissive thing, like on the hay worshipping that. Mine's gone blank. Yeah. To possibly receive. A lot of sources say it means to bend, allow and tame. As in, like, because a palm bends, like bending on the wheel, taming. Maybe, I'm not so sure, but I'll write it down. You can then check it up and see what you think yourself. Like subdue as well. It's possible. It possibly has something to do with kingship as well. Like the king, he puts his hand up and that's it. Everyone just listens or something, or has his authority, won't be done. Some sources suggest it also means crown. Again, I don't know. He's got a king thing on the go, but bump, crown, might do. If you look at Kaph Lamed Mem and spell it backwards, you get the word Melech, which is basically king, so it could do. Any more? We'll forget. Yeah, I don't know. Possibly some more, but like I said, Kaph's a letter I'm not so sure on, so go check it out. However, Lamed is a letter I am very sure about and confident of. Right. Original forms were basically this, or sometimes very, very curly version. Looks like a nose now. Or you might see it written the wrong way. It doesn't really matter. You see it written all different angles sometimes. Right. Paleo Hebrew, it's the same. It didn't really change at all. Right. Sometimes you might see it more straight, but it's the same thing. Okay. When it went into Dead Sea Scrolls area, it was a bit more sort of something like that. It was very bent, had a big flick back on the top, and then on this one you got the big tall piece and the short bit that curls. When it went into modern, that swapped over. So modern's basically that, or sometimes that. Okay, so that's like the forms of the Lamed as it changed. Grammatically, it means 30. Yeah. Take them off again. Should really want to smaller, then it wouldn't have to keep rubbing them off, would I? Yeah. Basically. Okay. If you put it at the front of a word, it means to, towards, for, and like belonging to. Okay. Yeah. As far as I understand, it doesn't have any grammatical meanings at the end of a word. Now, if you look at to and towards, you can see that's exactly the same thing. Yeah, it's to him or it's towards him. But you could say, oh yeah, you know, I've made this card for you. There's a board rubber, but I've made this card for you. So I've made this card to you. It's going to you. So you get the same idea of to and for. It's often translated either way, but it's a very similar meaning. Belonging to, again, the same kind of thing. You often saw lots of old coins that were dug up. You'd have the med followed by the person's name, and it's often translated belonging to this person because it's to him, it's for him, it's his. Okay. Pictographically, the shepherd's staff. Okay, so obviously by extension, a big stick, right? And also, you might see it translated as goad, but it's the same thing. Some sources will say tongue as well. I'm less sure, but I do say how it ties in. If you get the curly version, it looks a bit like a tongue, like ish. Okay. Concretely, I think that's about it in terms of what it's a picture of. I'll put sceptre there. Because at the end of the day, a big crozier, a big shepherd's staff, a big stick, a big sceptre, it's all basically the same thing. In terms of meanings, you get the idea of a king, because he's one of authority. So, and also if you look at the modern letters, the flip bit at the top tends to stick above all the other letters, so a lot of sources say that, you know, it represents a king, if you like. Several letters I think represents a king, but you get the king in authority. Okay, obviously with that you get rulership and leadership. So you get rule. I'm not going to put rulership, because the same thing, rulership. Okay, to lead, or you know, like a leader or leadership. You know, you get the idea. I hope that makes sense. Lead, leader, leadership. Just saves me write it out so many times. Okay, you get the idea of control as well. Okay. You get the idea of teaching and learning. This board would stay still. That's a D, that's no use. There's an M. Some sources will say it means kind of the opposite of to and towards in the sense of pulling. Not sure, but I'm going to put it down. Because however you look at it, okay, if you've got a big sheep, if you imagine yourself being a shepherd with a sheep, you know, you've got your little sheep in that. I don't know, whatever. And you're the shepherd bloke. You've got your big stick. Well, sometimes you're going to be poking and saying, move that way, wait, move it. Other times you probably grab it around the neck and this way, pulling towards you. You've got the same dynamic here. If like technically, I don't see myself as a teacher, but I suppose I am, because I mean, whenever we open a mouth, we're teaching technically. I'm sending stuff out to you, okay? So you are receiving stuff, you're learning. So you've got to, you know, teach and learn thing on the go. Okay? I think that's about it. When I say tongue, it's in the sense of speech. Because if you're a leader and you're teaching something, you have the authority, you do a lot of that by what you say. Okay. Okay then. In terms of a word, there's a good example, I believe, that links them two together. The first is, it's pronounced three different ways. Again, I'm not big on vowel pointings, but at the same time, I'm not totally against them. A lot of people go, oh, it's vowel pointings, it's noob, it's crap. I don't think they're totally crap, because they do show you where things have been fiddled, and they do set particular They set a particular pronunciation and therefore a particular nuance of the meaning. You're free to ignore them if you're going to look into the Paleo Hebrew, etc. But I think sometimes they're useful, other times not. It depends. But okay, pronounce laka. It's like to you, literally to you. Usually speaking, I think masculine singular, so like talking to one person, a bloke. Okay, if it's pronounced lak, it's the same, but you're talking to a woman. And if it's pronounced lek, it tends to mean go, or went, or walk even. It just basically means move. Right, so it can mean to you, or it can mean like go. You see it translated as went quite often, or maybe even left. You know, walk, etc. And I think pictographically, the picture is this basically. Let's just pretend that's a Lamed shepherd staff, okay? Like the letter goes into your hand, so it's towards Kaph. Okay, so now I was like, okay, now I'll go for a walk. Right, go for a walking stick. I think that's the thought behind it. And also, you know, you could say to yourself, you're going towards wherever you're going for yourself, or I think it's more like a stick in the hand and go. And quite appropriately, if you swap them over, right, you get the word kal or kol, depending on dialect. And that usually means all, every, complete and finish. And again, I think the picture on this is interesting because you start off with a Kaph. Oh yeah, Kaph means open hand, like karate, open hand. So yeah, Kaph, open, also means that. You got the idea of a Kaph first, then a Lamed, and that can mean open. So right, I'm done now. I'll finish walking, so I don't need a stick. I think that's kind of, I read that somewhere. I thought about it and looked into it. That makes sense to me. So that's a good example, I suppose, of how the pictures kind of work. Alright, that's it for that. Like I said, I'm unsure a little bit on Kaph, but look into it yourself, see what you think. And I'm going to record the next video now, but split it up. Cheers.